We're about to shoot a shot.
All right, welcome to another exciting episode of Gripping Golf Podcast. I'm your host, Billy Daniels, and alongside me to the left here is the Dave Miller. How are you doing this morning, Dave?
I'm great, thanks, Billy.
It's a little early. We've gotten here a little earlier than normal.
It's not early for me. It's early for podcasts.
Yeah. That's very nice. Well said. And we have a special guest here with us today, Gianna Augustine. How are you this morning?
Good. How are you all?
Fantastic.
Good.
Just happy to be here. Glad to see that you responded so quickly to my text message, since it's been like 3 years since I've talked to you.
If I didn't respond quickly, I wouldn't have responded at all.
At all?
So you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and for you, it's not necessarily an early day at all. You like to get up early.
Yeah.
You're an early riser.
Yes. Getting ready early is a little bit more difficult, but I definitely get up and enjoy quiet house with a cup of coffee. So I said, let's go early so we can have our Saturday. It's actually a nice day today.
It is.
I'm definitely going to go hit some golf balls after this. And then tomorrow I'm going to play golf, which is crazy.
Really?
What is
Nice.
that? Golf pro playing golf.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're playing golf tomorrow.
You are? Where are you
You're
guys
playing
playing?
golf tomorrow.
I'm You're not going to play? Oh, that's right. You're going to
I'm
Orlando.
flying to Orlando.
Yes.
Ooh.
Going out to Sycamore Ridge. We'll play
Okay,
out there. So
nice.
where are you going to play?
I think I'm playing Sykes Lady. I think
Oh.
I'm south. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's what it is.
Do you have
I
a
gotta
number
look.
in mind that you're going to shoot tomorrow?
No. A two-putt on every green would be okay.
Exactly.
We would be okay with that.
It's early in the season in
Yes.
2023.
Winter
yes.
greens,
Winter
it's okay.
greens,
Yep.
we're okay with two putts. Yes.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
For the listeners who do not know who you are, or the watchers, the people who are tuning in on YouTube, who are you? Tell us a
Okay,
little bit about
yes.
your story. Who,
Yeah.
you're pretty well known in some areas, but
Thank
people
you.
might not know.
Yes. So I'm Gianna Augustine. I'm a PGA professional at the Overland Park Golf Division, Sykes Lady and St. Andrews, kind of go back and forth depending on the day. I am also known as Gianna Meisenhelter. I was a junior golfer here in Kansas City, pretty successful, played golf at Kansas State. I met my husband while I was at Kansas State. We got married. I lived in Dallas for 2 years, which is kind of a funny part of my story, but I taught golf and PE classes in Dallas County schools. So I really got my foot in the door on teaching junior golf. And then when Adam, my husband, got a job back up here in Kansas City, I was ready to come home because this is just my place and I love it. So I've been at the golf courses that I learned to play golf at. I learned to play golf at Sykes Lady. Had two really cool golf pros there that just made that love grow strong for me. And now I get to teach the kids that went to my elementary school. And they're like, Coach G, you were a Bentwood Blue Jay? Yeah, buddy, I was. So they love to hear that. And I love being that person for them. And if I get to have one kiddo that then teaches golf at Sykes Lady or St. Andrews someday, like, that's the dream.
You'll
So,
be fulfilled at that point.
Yeah.
I love how
Yes.
modest you are of like she's kind of known in her junior golf world. How many tournaments did you win?
My dad kept track. It was like 153. Yeah.
In like your I guess high school career,
Yes.
how many did you win in high school?
So high school, I'm
Sorry,
a little
I'm-
bitter about this one. So I think I won 35 out of 40 possible events, and 2 of the events I was sick for and couldn't go. And then like the other 2 events, I played in the Walmart First Tee Open with Tom Watson. And because I was playing in an outside event, I couldn't play in the first 2 events of my high school season.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was like
So bad.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yes.
sorry.
So my sophomore year of high school, I won every single golf tournament that year. The kids on the morning announcements probably got sick of hearing my name, but everyone said it correctly because a lot of people don't say my name
All right.
correctly. But
That's the first thing. So honestly, like we recorded, I think it was
Yeah.
like 3 years ago or something
Yeah.
like that. And I remember,
It's hard.
Yeah, you walked in and I go, "Hi, Gianna," and you were like,
you said my name.
"You said
right.
my name correctly," and I will never forget that.
Yeah.
Like you were so like, "Thank you," and I was
Yeah.
like, "Well, I watched all your YouTube videos and figured out how to say your name."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I love how like again, I want to go back to this. So I'm sorry, I'm sure you get drilled about your winning percentage, but that's an 87% winning percentage of the tournaments that it's actually 100%, right, that you started in?
I think no, because I definitely came in 6th place at regional or state my freshman year.
Okay.
Something like that. So
you lost one tournament.
Definitely lost that one. Yes. Yes.
I love it. But still, of the 40 that you could have been in and you win 35 of them, that's 87.5%.
A lot.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Yeah. And then college, you went to K-State,
Went to K-State.
How was that?
Yeah, it was a great time there. I played in every event on the team. So there was 44 events, and, you could qualify as an individual or you could qualify as part of the team. And I qualified as part of the team in every event and was leading most of the time, either 1-2 player on that team.
That's awesome.
It was great. I after college, I stayed an extra semester and I practiced to go play in Q school, and I had status on the Symetra Tour, which is the Epsom Tour. And, I met some of my friends that I had known from other schools, and it was so cutthroat. And the thought of every single week being around these girls, and girls are catty. Like it's not, we know that. Mm-hmm. And I just, like, the thought of kind of meeting new people and teaching them about golf and having my bubbly personality go through to these kids that I got to teach every day was just much more appealing than kind of that loner status that is professional golf. Yeah. So it was definitely like a very clear path of what I was supposed to do after I went to Q school, and I don't look back.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's safe to say that you are a rock star in the golf industry and are very well versed. And we're, Kansas City's lucky to have somebody be so dedicated to what you do. Yeah.
Thank you.
The growth of the game is important.
Yeah.
I mean,
it is really, really important.
Yeah.
So, and I'm lucky at my courses, there's a radius of just massive amounts of kids that can come and play golf. And I'm so lucky that, we have a great marketing director that gets the kids there. And then I just have a passion for it. And I don't know who has their hand on my shoulder, but what I learned when I was in Dallas and what I'm able to bring here, it's been fruitful, but also we've created a lot of golfers.
Yeah. So how do people, just because I feel like you're doing a fantastic job of trying not to sell yourself, but you're selling the hell out of yourself right now. Well. No, it's good. It's really good. Because I think for me, what I would say is, like, of our listeners and people who might have kids that want to get into junior golf, how can they get in contact with you?
So go to our Golf OP website, and our marketing director does a fabulous job of making this website very user-friendly. So we have a tab just for junior golfers. You can go on there. If you go now and soon, you'll probably get a space in class. She will send out an email probably next week, and that's when people will be like, oh, wow, registration is open. I've got to sign up. And then there won't be a space for class. So if you're listening early, go on our website now, and there's registration process on there. It's very user-friendly.
Nice. And then talk about a little bit, sorry to put you on the spot, but talk a little bit about the facility itself. So Sykes Lady and then St. Andrews, or vice versa, however you want to do it.
So I spend more of my time at Sykes Lady because we have a par 3 course, and it gets a little bit easier for me to take a kid on the golf course. Early in my career, I learned a little too late in the game to take a kid on the golf course. They kind of thought golf was just a driving range. So now I try really, really hard to at least take them on a golf hole, show them, okay, now here's where we hit a driver, here's where we hit a putter. But anyway, Sykes Lady just built a brand new clubhouse. We have Club 27 restaurant that is phenomenal. It's absolutely my favorite restaurant in Overland Park. I know that I work there, so it sounds a little bit like, is it really that good? It is. It's so yummy and delicious. Yeah. So if
I can second that. It is really good.
Okay, good.
Yes. Yeah.
Good. Yes.
And it's a great view.
Chef Levi works so hard on that menu and changes it around all the time. So my favorite is that BLTA and Club 27 sandwich that they'll bring back for the summer season. But anyway, beautiful clubhouse there at Sykes Lady. We have 3 regulation 9-hole golf courses there at Sykes. And then if you go down the street just a mile is St. Andrews, and really nice driving range. That's kind of people go there for the driving range and then an 18-hole regulation golf course.
Yeah. And lights on the driving range at St. Andrews.
Yes,
so yeah,
lit driving range. The hours change as the season changes, but I think their last bucket is sold at like 9:30 in the summers.
Yeah.
And a little bit less expensive than Topgolf. I'll look at St. Andrews. Sometimes I'll leave there at like 8:00 at night for lessons, and it's 3 people deep waiting for a bay to hit at St. Andrews.
Yeah, I've been there waiting, and it blows my mind because I too, like you, grew up playing both those courses.
Yes,
and so now being there, it's just incredible to me to see like how many people are coming there. But it's really, aside from Topgolf and then maybe a few other on the Missouri side, there's not a lot of
a night range.
That you can do it.
Yeah,
which is shocking a little bit because I feel like there's an opportunity there, and that somebody like
there is.
Okay,
there is.
I'm sure there. We won't. I don't know. You might be hinting
teaser.
at something. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah,
but I got to play a course in. I've told this story on the podcast before, but played a course in Amarillo, Texas. That this very similar to how Sykes Lady did theirs of. They redid the clubhouse. They put this beautiful restaurant in. They came in, and it was, let's make this a destination. Yeah. I'm not sure that that's what their point was, but that's what it feels like now. Families can come in, kids can come in. It's a place where, mom, dad, or the juniors have been done playing golf. Oh, now everyone's there, and we're having dinner, we're having a drink, whatnot.
So the restaurant staff actually has to... This is, again, I'm bragging. Yeah. They have to hire a couple more people on nights that I have junior golf classes because the whole family, grandparents will come in and kid will be doing golf class, and then they'll get picked up by someone that's at the restaurant and have a meal all together, and
it's a whole,
it kind of works out well.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Stop being so good.
Little job security for me too. So
that's awesome. In that, so that course in Amarillo did the same thing, but what they did is they put lights. So it was a par 3 18-hole golf course that had lights all across it. We teed off at like 9:30 at night.
Yes, and
then it was my sister-in-law's family. They all came up. Well, actually, I'm sorry, reverse that. We ate dinner, and then my brother-in-law, the father-in-law there, and me went and played 18 holes and got done at like midnight.
Tell our professional staff they'll be staying later.
Yes, I know.
Every night, too.
But this guy, it was kind of like open.
It is very cool,
There's no, there are restaurants in that general area out there, but there's also not a lot of options.
There's nothing to do in Amarillo.
No, there's not. It's
you
flat.
go to the Big Texan, and I guess you go play golf at night. That's
what
Amarillo.
Is it? 72 ounces of steak?
Yeah, plus sides.
Oh gosh,
in one sitting.
Do you know what we're talking?
No,
it's
I don't.
Steak. It's
do you have experience with this?
No, I did not attempt the challenge. No, I just what size was my ribeye that I had? No, John and I were there. We were driving to Phoenix to take Doug his car and play golf, of course, because it was wintertime here. Yeah. But we stopped in Amarillo and decided, well, you're in Amarillo, you got to eat at the Big Texan. So we went there and we got a steak, and the steak was okay.
Right.
It was fine.
Right.
But several people were doing the challenge. So it's the 72-ounce steak. It's the side. So it's like a baked potato, vegetables, and something else.
And you have an hour.
You have an hour to clear your entire plate, and your meal is free.
If you finish all of it.
Right.
Wow.
And we happened to be sitting next to a German family that just thought this was the most insane thing they'd ever seen in their lives.
Right.
It was really an experience for both John and I.
Well, really setting America apart. Americans really breaking that what they already think, that stigma of what they already think about us.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen The Great Outdoors? Okay,
no.
You don't. It's
no.
John Candy.
Sorry.
That was the old 96er.
Dan Aykroyd. Yes, the old 96er. That's kind of the thing. He has to eat this whole steak, and it's huge. And it was John Candy, right?
It was.
Okay,
yeah. John Candy and Dan Aykroyd.
I think our college coach should have taken us there after a 36-hole day. We could have put that down.
Oh my
gosh,
sure. Yes.
I remember going to Cheesecake Factory, and I'd eat a whole big plate at Cheesecake Factory, and then be like, let's get a piece of cheesecake and eat all of that after a 36-hole day.
Yeah.
No big deal. Not even full.
Right.
Now, not a chance.
Right.
Not a chance.
Yeah. I'll be sick tomorrow if I do that.
Yes.
That's hilarious. Yeah. Well, and the reason you're here on the show, so thank you for giving your background. Thank you for doing all that. I think that's fantastic. Seriously, and I can't promote Sykes Lady and St. Andrews enough. You guys do a fantastic job there. And honestly, if you haven't gone out there to Club 27, do it. it's such a great place to just watch people play and just watch people and have a beer, have a nice dinner, or have some water. I guess you don't have to drink.
Happy hour too.
Exactly.
Food, happy hour specials. So.
Well, and all your league. I mean, you guys have to. I mean, that's fantastic. You have a great place for all the leagues to hang out afterwards. It's like job well done. Like really good. Well, you're here because you have recently gone to the PGA Show down in Orlando, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
And
last week.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
And you were generous enough to come on the show and talk about your experience. So, how was it? Start from going down there. I guess, have you been before? Would be my first.
No, so I had not been before. It was a really cool experience. Right before, there's a lot of things to the PGA Show. So there's, obviously the product and buyers and things like that. But then there's a lot of break-off areas for education opportunities, different like speakers. A lot of celebrities come down. I know Tom Watson was down there. I know Danielle King was there. So there's just a lot that goes on at the PGA Show behind the scenes that a consumer or just like a general public doesn't really know about. But I was more interested in being on the floor with all the products and stuff like that since it was my first time. So that was pretty neat to see all of that.
That's awesome. Did anything did anything stand out in your mind? And we'll talk about different various products, but like, is there anything that you just were like, that's the thing that I'm most excited about or walked away from thinking?
Wow. I think the one thing that stood out the most is how much like AI and all of the lasers and projectors and all of the, launch monitors, that's taking over these putting greens with AI and all of that stuff. Like how we've linked that into golf. So cool, so needed, but just very much the way of the future, I think, for sure. So.
I totally agree, and we'll get into some of those products here in a little bit. But another question I have is, did you go to the driving range? Just curious.
So the demo day?
Yes.
I went to demo day, and my whole, there was 7 of us, I think, that went from the OP Golf Division, and they all laughed at me because they all noticed that I was at the U.S. Kids Golf booth hitting drivers for junior clubs. So
product research for you.
I was doing, that's exactly what I was doing. So they now have an adjustable head, just like our drivers are with the crank and everything like that. And I thought that was so cool. And I sent that to some of my parents, and I was like, this is the new driver you have to get. So, you can remove the shaft and get a longer shaft. So even if I have like a kid that's strong enough, but in a little body, they can have a longer driver. Yeah. Hey, they're going to hit it farther now. So I spent a lot of time at demo day at U.S. Kids Golf.
That's perfect.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're taking what Epic Golf is doing with the adjustable clubs, but putting it in your own hands to do it yourself.
So I think Epic Golf has like an adjustable length shaft where you add in, isn't it that you add in the little like...
So I don't know if
like Legos.
Last time I looked, you have to send your stuff back into them and they'll lengthen it for you and send it back.
So this, you get the little wrench and you could just order a different shaft for the driver head, and it's a nice driver head. I was pounding them on the range. I loved them.
Are you making a club switch then? Is that what I'm sensing?
I mean, it went straight every time. So
yeah, my son had a U.S. Kids Go. So he had just the basic box set that you get, and it comes with the driver fairway head, right? And he was struggling with it, as many golfers struggle with fairway woods. And so I went to the golf store and got him a full-size driver, and he started pounding it. It made such a huge difference. Like it's amazing how much.
So he went from a kid's head. I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I heard that.
So correctly. It was basically like a fairway wood size head.
Oh, okay.
So they call it a fairway driver for U.S. Kids Golf. It looks like
it's like a 23-degree
bigger driver, or a bigger 3-wood, excuse me, is what the fairway driver looks like.
Exactly. And then put them in the full size. It's not a 460 cc, but
I think they're getting darn close to 460 cc with that new U.S. Kids one. If it isn't already, I can't totally remember.
Well, get your eyes adjusted to it, because like y'all remember, like when we started, it was like, wasn't it like 300 was the biggest for the longest time? Yeah. And then now it's up to 460. I mean, they still look huge in my opinion.
I agree. Yeah.
And why not give the kid more face to hit? Because it's not like their swing is going to bring the club to the ball in the exact same spot every time. So give them more surface area. You get a big driver in those kids' hands, and they can pound it. So I was really excited. He was keeping up with some of the older kids in junior league. It was pretty impressive. Yeah, the difference it makes. That's cool that it's adjustable now.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. Talk about the sheer size. Like for me, I go back like not just the clubs that are there, but the overhead shots that you see of that driving range. What is the size? Like when you walk up to that,
it's insane. It's like it's huge. Like it's completely 360-degree driving range. So if you take a lap around it, I bet it would be maybe like a half a mile around, and you hit into this range, and I'm like, don't people hit drivers to the other side? No, not a chance. Like it's so far away. So we had an hour and 30 minutes kind of to spend at that driving range. So I had to go pretty fast, but I knew I wanted to go to US Kids Golf. And then I also got to meet a friend that I had connected with on social media for a long time, and she actually teaches out of that driving range there. So they have, that whole range, but there's so many different golf pros that teach just from that driving range, and so many different academies that are at that range specifically. And there is a golf course part of that driving range, if you didn't know.
I didn't even know that.
Nice clubhouse, beautiful golf course. Yeah, it's
I just thought it was a driving range out in the middle of nowhere. No,
I mean, I bet they could have two separate entities, driving range and then golf course. But yeah, there's a golf course there as well. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Like I know it that for me is one of those times where you see a picture or a video of it and you're just like, I know it's not doing it justice of how large this truly is.
It was very large.
Like
yes.
Have you been to Bandon?
Yes.
Okay, so
their range is large.
Yes.
Yeah. Really. Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say in comparison of like you walk up to what is it? Shorties? No, Shorties is the par 3 course that's around the range.
I don't even know that. I was in there in 2011. Believe it or not.
You gotta go back.
So they may not have had.
So
that
you haven't
by
seen
then.
Sheep Ranch?
No, I don't think so.
Or Old Mac.
No, I played Old Mac.
Oh, you played Old Mac. Okay. That range, like it goes both directions.
Yeah.
And now I think it may have always been there, but there's a par 3 like. If you remember where that parking lot was, to the right of it, there was a little par 3 course. I think it's called Shorties, but that was impressive to me.
Right.
So like you just stand there, you're like looking left, you're looking right, and you're like, this is ginormous.
They won't run out of grass there. They're not on the mats there, are they? Not on the mats.
No,
there.
Never. And I think it's such an optical illusion too, because the trees there are so big at that driving range, and you're like, oh, that doesn't. I bet you could hit a driver into the tree. No,
nope.
That driver, it's like 700 yards away. If that probably still not even accurate. It's probably 1,000 yards away. And like I remember hitting the first shot, and it was like, oh, that landed so close to me. And you like get your laser out, and you're like, oh, it's still 200 yards away. That's 200 yards away.
Yeah,
that's
crazy.
That
was impressive. So
that's awesome.
But demo day is kind of, you can go quickly. I actually probably had a better experience going quickly because one thing too is if you really want to hit some of the clubs, you have to have an appointment. So like a lot of people who are on staff with different products, like the staff company will send you an email and say, sign up for your time that you want to do that. And if you're not on it immediately, you're not trying anything. You're not going to get it.
Yeah. No. And talk, since you're bringing that up, talk about, like, before the show, we were a little bit talking about the fact of it's more sales pitchy than I think the perception of to the general public. It's like you go down there, you're going to get to try everything. And I'm not just talking about the driving range. I'm talking about, or the demo day. I'm talking about going into the show. It's very much not necessarily hands-on.
Yes. Okay. So one thing I was kind of excited about was going and seeing like the new lines from G4, Peter Millar, RLX, and I'm not a buyer for a golf course, so I was just going to take a quick little like run around and be like, okay, I'll wait till that gets online and I'll purchase that. No, you cannot go into even these booths at these like high-end retailers because I don't know if they don't want you taking pictures, or like Ralph Lauren was like, oh, we're trying to keep it, less traffic because we have people who make appointments. So that was one thing that was kind of bizarre to me. So the clothing area is off to the right, and I I was like, okay, I'm not welcome there. So I will not go over that way.
Must be specifically, that must be for a purpose to do. I'm guessing that a lot of courses go, or the merchandisers are going in there and doing their purchases for the year and seeing everything.
And you make appointments with them beforehand. Yeah. So it's very hush hush over in the clothing area.
Is this like a whole separate wing of the convention center?
Yeah. Right? So it's like fully off to the right. I don't know if that was north or south, east or what. I don't know. I was so turned around. It was so, yes, it was so giant. Massive. But it was, when I walked in, it was to the right, and I did not go to the right side at all after that experience.
I remember, I'm trying to think of how long ago it was when Pete and I both went. It was when the FT5 came out, so that was what, like 2007, 2008, something like that.
It's been a bit.
Right. And like everything in the clothing section was behind glass.
Yes.
Yeah.
And wow.
And I got an up down quite often because you have like these giant name tags that say what your part is in the golf business, and mine says golf instructor. And so these people that are like clothing buyers are like looking at me, and I was like, okay, like female intuition, you're not welcome here. Let's just go ahead and go over in your area. Stay in your lane, Gianna.
I can't sell this person anything, so I'm not going to talk to them.
That's
we went as buyers.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Our tag said buyers, so we didn't get as much of a cold shoulder. But I'm sure we looked like a couple of idiots, and they knew we weren't buying anything. So
who are you with?
It says right here.
Yeah.
You're not at Kiowa?
Let's talk about some of the products then. So I mean, first, I guess we'll go into kind of what we've seen in the general public is kind of like there's some, you already said AI.
Yeah.
Or artificial intelligence too would be augmentation. Yes. Augmented reality. So, And that's kind of the first one that I kind of want to talk about, which was called PutView X from PutView.
Yes.
And I know we've kind of prepped a little bit, but like they're goggles. And you put them on. And so what, like, not necessarily from the perspective of like, I looked at this product or anything like that, but just what are your general thoughts about it? Like,
if you have some money, you can buy this. They're very expensive.
Almost $15,000.
Yes. So, and I think these are kind of like first generation things that are coming out.
Right.
So we kind of know how first generation things go. For
Not well.
$15,000, that seems like a lot of money. But, for places like where we're at, where it's cold weather, these are kind of cool tools that you can utilize. So there's two different types of things that you can get out of those PutView things. If you're a person that lines up a golf ball and likes the line when they putt it and doesn't question themselves like myself, this might be like a cool tool for you because it tells you like this is the line that you need to take to hit it in the hole. But if you're kind of like me, a little abstract thinking, like it's more interesting to see the terrain in the kind of what they're showing you over. This is the line that you need to take.
Right.
So
that's interesting because it's validation is what I'm hearing. Is like if you're like, okay, this is how I'm feeling, this is how I'm going to line. I'm going to commit to that line and go. There's your validation.
Yes.
And it could be a teaching tool of like, oh, what you're seeing and how you're lining up, you're way off.
Yes.
And so that's interesting. So I hear that you're a field player then.
Yes,
okay.
Exactly. Yeah. And I had that, I was lining up putts all the time. And, I had that solidified by someone saying, do you agree with your line? I'm like, no, I spend so much time lining this up and I get over it. And I'm like, no chance this is right. And they were like, okay, stop lining it up then. I was a much better putter when I didn't line it up. So
I've gone to no practice stroke.
If you've played golf long enough, you're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a big testament to just like, honestly, like you can have all the lessons in the world. You can have the purest golf swing in the world, but you've got to get your brain out of the way.
Yes.
And that's the thing. So
that's why I went to no line I tried to line up the putts and
and
I know now when I would stand over the ball, it's because my alignment to all that's all wonky, but
real versus feel. I would rather just feel it.
I couldn't do it with the line.
Yeah.
So I just look at a blank ball now.
Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah. So well, it'll be interesting. I think to your point of like introductory, this is just coming into the market. There's probably a long ways that it's going to go, and in my opinion, it'll probably connect more with your phone. It probably does, but like there'll probably be more renditions of this to be able to validate that you are a good putter.
Yeah,
or not a good putter.
So. All these things that they have, this Sportsbox AI app, like that's like a K-Vest that you don't actually have to have a K-vest. It's just all AI in your phone.
It's crazy.
I don't get how it works, but it's cool.
Right. Yeah. For me, I struggle when the fact of, if I don't understand it, I'm not going to know what it's doing. And then to me, like, you're questioning, like, am I going to really believe what these numbers are? Not necessarily like I have to become a scientist or a data analyst or something, but like I do want to understand how it's getting to these numbers or what these numbers truly mean. Right.
So let me ask you this. As an instructor, you look at these things like these goggles, or you look at the AI and things like that. I've always taken to, for me personally, training aids, simple is better. Is that kind of the same philosophy that you go by?
Yeah, I would agree.
You can
less is more.
Less is more, and maybe some of these things might be giving people too much input.
If you don't know what you're doing with it, I would agree with that. And, you know, it could stall you on the golf course. Like, okay, what would my goggles say right now? Like, no, just play golf. And that's one thing that we have to talk about in lessons. Like, hey, like, we're talking about this right now. Do it on the driving range. But when you go to play golf, play golf. Like, this is a time where if you didn't put in the work, your round of golf is going to tell you it's not the time to figure it out. So I think some of them can be gimmicky, but like, you know, we talked about some of the launch monitors, and like I have a launch monitor and I love it. And I've got little 5-year-olds learning what the numbers mean, learning what path means, learning what face means, learning what launch angle means, learning what angle of attack means. And it's not hard numbers. And those have been around for so long. So if you were to really, really sit down and be like, okay, I've got 20 grand to spend, buy a launch monitor that tells you those data points. You know, putting, the greens on your putt view system in your basement are a lot faster than the greens at any golf course you're about to play somewhere else. So
that's very true. You know, first off, less is more, and really just doing what you feel on the golf course. That for me really has been a big change in my game.
Yeah, but there are people that have to have that technical process to get through their round of golf, and you know, maybe these are the things for them. But I think in golf, just like with making decisions in life, the simpler you make it, the easier the game gets for you.
Well, reduce the clutter.
Right.
Like, it is a hard enough game.
It is a hard enough game. Yeah. But I do think, back to your point about the numbers, I think what you're saying about the juniors are getting into these different numbers, I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
Like what I just felt in the moment that you were saying that is like what's to come with their games. Like not necessarily like technology, but like how good of golfers are we going to see in the next 10 to 15 years because they've been raised understanding these different components of the game. Because like I think about me growing up, I never had an instructor be like, oh, boop, let's put this launch monitor out. It was all like, oh, you need to have your hands up here. You need to be here. And I'm like, I feel now I've learned so much more in the last 2 or 3 years about my own golf swing that, and Dave harps on me a lot, I'm trying to work on it all the time. But at the same time, I feel like I'm still a work in progress of getting to where I want to be with my numbers. And I'm like excited to see what we're going to see. The next generation of golfer being ready. It's like the kids with cell phones these days. It's like the things that they're coding at like 7 years old. Like, well, what's the golfer going to do?
Yeah, I think, I think things that you can learn from those putt view goggles or the mat is, you know, if you see this amount of break, this is how much we need to play it out. Or like, hey, if you're 3 feet away, like do not give away the hole. So it's just, again, those components that we've always been saying, but kind of in their terms. Technology is how their brain is working. Yeah. So if they not only hear it, but then see it and it's validated by technology, like I think that's huge in this. And the thing about the launch monitor, I play a game, I'll cover the launch monitor screen for the kids, and maybe we're talking about face to target. And I'll say, okay, how open was your face on that shot? And they'll guess, and they'll be like, 6 degrees right. And it'll be like 6.7 degrees right. And like now they're just learning face control, and they're having it validated by a piece of technology. That's like my favorite game to play with.
Yeah, the muscle memory that they're figuring out. If they're being able to say, oh, it's 6 degrees and they're 6.7, like that's dangerous.
Yeah,
like
I can't tell you my face angle.
5-year-olds talking about this.
That's
it's
awesome.
like so simple. And, we'll play pitching games and I'll be like, okay, hit it 32 yards. And they'll be like, I just hit that 35. And I'm like, 35.7 or whatever it is. Like just that feel. So we talk about feel, we talk about simple things. Okay. But it's also validated by a piece of technology. There's ways to use it that go back to old school thinking.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I think. Like I go back to when I was teaching lessons of like, there was such a challenge to try and explain to somebody why you're trying to get them to do something. And now you have
we want to be at 0 and you're at 7.
Exactly. And I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, I know. It's awesome.
And that's a really good, let's jump into like one of the biggest, I think, launch monitors, personal launch monitors that is coming out that I think a lot of people are excited about is that Rapsodo mobile launch monitor 2 Pro, which we've tried the Rapsodo before, and I'm very excited about this one because of the fact that it's definitely camera based. I don't know if you're aware. Okay, so it's more camera based than I would say. It's not radar by any means, but I don't know if you've used it or seen it.
So one thing that I personally think, if you're looking for a personal launch monitor, go with camera based over, what is the other one?
Radar.
Radar. Because let's say, so the littles that I teach, a radar does not get picked up for their swing speeds.
Yeah.
So I think it's a huge benefit to have the camera, because no matter how fast or slow or medium you're swinging, the golf ball and the club face are picked up.
Yeah.
So, and it can read all of those numbers. So if I were looking for myself, it would be camera based, not radar based. Just because if you have it as a personal use, your family's going to use it, or your wife or your grandparent or whomever, and swing speeds are different. So I think that's a good one.
Yeah, mobile, I think a big, like for me personally, is like if I could go afford like a $20,000 TrackMan or 15, whatever they are, I probably would. Because those are, I mean, you can carry them out, set them on the golf course, but at the same time, all these like mobile ones, I mean, they're small, and you can use them in a dedicated room in your house, or you can take it out to the range and get real-time feedback.
I think the other thing, too, that they had path on the Rapsodo one. Is that correct? Yeah.
Correct.
So a lot of the, old wave launch monitors are just distance and direction. And I can see how far I'm hitting that. I can see which direction it's going, but actually getting club and ball data is pay the money to at least get those two data points, because if you just pay the money to just see how far you're hitting it, that only goes so far.
Right.
Like,
you're not
okay, I got distances, cool.
Yeah.
But if you actually pay the money to kind of see what the club face is doing, that's a tool in your toolkit.
Right. Well, and I think do your research a little bit too of like what do you need, because like I believe the Rapsodo, they're in conjunction with Callaway. They've developed special balls that have dots on them so that the cameras can pick them up easier. And then
for indoor application.
For indoor, yeah. And then also like the RCT from Titleist works well with radar-based ones. You get better numbers. And so do your research of because you don't want to necessarily pick one and then be like, oh my gosh, I have to go buy these special golf balls to get the best numbers, which for indoor use, like you're saying, you might have it for indoor use and then you're using something else outdoor, obviously like range balls. But
I think, the easy thing to do is look at what the guys on tour are using.
Yes.
And you watch them with their practice rounds. They're taking their GC4s out there, the quads. And, a quad is not affordable for a common person. That's a $15,000 launch monitor. But the GC3, like you said, that you use, you can get those for, I think, if you get the Bushnell version, it's like $3,500. You got to pay for the subscription. And I think it's maybe $5,000 through Foresight or something around there, and it comes fully loaded. So those are more attainable for the higher end things, but the tour pros are using the camera-based technology.
Yeah. Are you talking about specifically about Justin Thomas on the no lane?
That was one example of it.
On the par 3. I mean, I think it's cool
Yeah.
to just bring it out on the golf course with you. But one thing that I remember, and I think it's kind of why I went to the GC3 model, I remember Phil at the PGA Championship on the driving range, and he was trying to hit a 122-yard shot with whatever club he was using, pitching wedge, sand wedge, whatever it was. But he was specifically trying to hit that distance and that distance alone. like a little half swing, wedge, whatever it was for him. And he was using a GC quad.
Yeah. Yeah. Because when I saw him on the range at Augusta in 2019, it was literally just bombs away.
Yeah.
He got out the driver, and I swear he was trying to hit it over the range the whole time.
Yeah.
And it was very fun to watch.
Right.
But at that point, he had a TrackMan with him.
Oh, he did? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But just to sit there and try to groove a specific distance, that blew my mind a little bit.
That's what makes them different than us.
Yeah.
But that goes back to that goes back to your juniors though a little bit of like they're developing the muscle memory as they swing, knowing the distances that they're. I mean, talking about like strokes gained and stuff like that it is beneficial to hit the ball as far as you possibly can and get it as close to the hole. But at the same time, you still have to put the ball in the hole.
Yes.
And so you have to get the ball in the green to put the ball in the hole. Yeah. And so to me, I think being able to feel those wedge numbers and stuff like that is critical.
One thing that I do with a lot of these high players, I'm like, if you learn your distances, different 30, 40, 50, 60 yards with your wedge, with your whatever it is, that's your get out of jail free card.
Yeah.
Okay, you hit a drive offline, let's punch it out. And who cares how far you punch it out to? You're at 40 yards, you know what a 40-yard swing feels like.
Yeah.
Go.
Get to a number.
Yeah.
I don't think there's another.
That's the way that we lower scores.
Yeah.
So that doesn't just go for my junior players. That's for myself. Like I do that. That's for you playing just your regular 9-hole round. Yeah, you're going to hit a bad drive.
Yeah.
You're going to. It's going to happen. Sorry. Punch it out to 30, 40, 50, 60 yards, whatever it is, and you know what it feels like to swing your club back to make it go 40 yards.
I think it's and I think there's the pros don't do that. The PGA Tour pros are not hitting perfect shots all the time.
No.
We just see them hitting perfect shots all the time. And so I would say like the reason I bring this up again is because like recently watched at Kapalua, No Lane Up went out there and they played with Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas. Those guys lost balls hitting on their, and it was, I think that's really good for the average golfer and to see that stuff that those guys are, it was a fun round and stuff like that, but they're trying to do things that they probably shouldn't have done. But at the same time, they're hitting errant tee shots.
Play a hole with just a 5-wood?
Yeah. No, I don't want to. But even like TJ Sullivan, who's a master PGA professional up in Chicago, he talked about, we did a podcast with him last year and he listens. Love you, TJ. Thank you. He was talking about the fact of the average golfer has no context of understanding like their make percentage from like 8 feet on the green. And it's wildly lower than you think it is, even to the PGA Tour Pro. And I think that's a systemic problem in the game.
That is one thing that is talked about in adult group instruction at our level.
Expectations, realistic.
Also in junior golf. We had a day where it was raining, and I didn't cancel class. We had class inside, which we have an indoor facility at Sykes below the restaurant patio. And we had our PGA Junior League team. And I sat them down, and we talked about this. We talked about make percentages on the PGA Tour. And a couple weeks later, this little girl, Coach G, look at my notes for golf. And she had all these little note cards. And one of the note cards said, like, it was like, check your grip, check your alignment. Like those were little note cards that she had. And one of them was like, remember Coach G's percentages. And I was like, what does this mean? She goes, you remember like 5 feet, like they make it all the time from 3 to 5 feet. But then like at 10 feet, it's just about getting it close. Don't you remember telling me that? This little girl's like 9 years old, writing this down, remembering that. So
maybe adults should come to the junior classes.
We talk about it in adult classes as well.
Yeah.
So yes.
No, I just mean to be humbled because I feel like we are like, I don't need to know that.
Yes.
And then like we're like, oh, that 9-year-old just beat me. I need to probably pay attention to what she's writing down.
So cute that she remembered just those little things, and I'm sitting there thinking like this is probably boring to them,
right?
But I got one of them to hear.
Hey, that's all.
Yeah.
So I want to keep going on products, but we this is great, fantastic stuff. So I do want to talk. The Tour Putt is the artificial or augmentation where it's a mat basically, and it tempo, timing. It shows you the line. Like you were already kind of talking about that. It's shoot it down.
Yeah, it's kind of like a launch monitor for putting, which we needed.
Yes,
we needed. So this is awesome. I can't wait for a place in Kansas City to get something like this. I think like
Sykes Lady St. Andrews should get it.
Yeah, I know. I tried really hard with the director of instruction. I tried so hard. I was like, that's the only thing I want to go look at. We need this. We need a putting thing. Well, a home use one is like $8,000. So I thought about like, okay, Adam, my husband, I'm like, can we get one? And no, that was shot down as well.
Once you get the house paid off.
Then maybe, yes. But somewhere, X Golf, I'm talking to you right now. Yeah. Can you get
X Golf in Leawood?
Yes. Can we get a putt view or something like that in town? But it's a TrackMan essentially for putting, which we needed.
Yes.
So
I think it's pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, I've watched some of the videos, and it's like it puts this arc down and shows you like how you should be stroking, and it was really, really neat. And Scratch Golf, if you've ever watched Scratch Golf, Eric went over and did some. I think it was in Korea. They had that stuff.
So the whole booth, they were all Korean, and
oh gosh, yeah.
Yes, it was awesome. Like I asked, do they have like a PGA show in Asia and Korea or something like that? Can you imagine all these AI and what it looks like?
No.
So
in Korea they don't actually golf on courses.
Yeah, it's inside.
It's all inside, so that's why we're getting all of these.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's not, because land is pretty hard.
I mean, they have golf courses, obviously, but
yes,
the big thing is
to go inside.
So you're improving inside.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. If you haven't, go watch Scratch Golf. He has fantastic content on there, and he talks specifically about that. But it's like they're coffee shops. It's like, come in, you have your
golf.
It's like, yes. But they're like golf coffee shops, and you can go to the range. They have indoor like bunkers places, and you can play 18 holes, and it's like going to X Golf. It's like going to Top Golf, but it's a much bigger component than like going to X Golf here in Kansas City.
And then when you actually do go play golf outside, because you have all of these knowledge points, it's better.
Yeah, sounds like we just need to go into business together and open up something like this here.
I love coffee.
Yes.
Coffee,
make
gin.
my barista dreams.
I'm a gin drinker. So.
Barista dreams come true. So.
Oh gosh, yes. Yeah, I don't know if you have much of a future in golf, teaching. It doesn't sound like you're doing very
barista.
well.
Yeah. It's all about barista work. I could be barista golf pro.
Career change for you. Yeah. Well, I think For me, I feel like you've given us so much information about everything, and so I just want to thank you for coming on the show. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want to talk about?
The one thing, so we talked about the putt view, and it's a projection down onto a putting green surface. They're doing the same thing as an attachment to like your Foresight or Bushnell, and it's a projection down onto the ground. So that was one. If you saw on my Instagram, I think you did.
The Falcon, is that the Falcon?
I don't really remember what it's called, but it's an $8,500 attachment to your Foresight GC3 or GC Quad. And what it does is it shows you your path right there and divot pattern. And it was a very cool experience to see it on the ground where you hit your shot, what kind of is happening with divot pattern.
That's pretty cool. I did see that. I think, and that's from Bushnell and Foresight.
Foresight.
I think it's called I thought it was the Falcon. I could be wrong.
It's available
because it's like
April
up on the
May.
top.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I wonder what it would say with my divot pattern.
It would probably say you don't take divots.
Exactly. Would it break?
Yeah. No. It would just be air.
Very shallow.
It does not compute.
It's
not very shallow.
No divot detected.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah. But that's awesome. So will you go back?
Yes, I will go back.
Every year or like every
Not
other?
every year. Okay. Not every year. It's if I have some education stuff to do and some stuff that I want to hear about. They have a teaching and coaching summit right before every 2 years. So that was something that we did right before the show, was learn more golf stuff. And I enjoyed that and would go back to that in conjunction with the show. Yes.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But if I'm going to Florida, I'm playing a little more golf next time.
Did you play any time?
Played one round over the course of 6 days.
Was it on the golf course that was next to the driving range?
No.
Okay.
No. That would have been cool, though. Yes.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. We appreciate you getting up early with us. Gianna Augustine And I said that correct, right?
Yeah,
Gianna
you did
Augustine.
awesome.
Yes. It doesn't look like that. I will say that.
Yes, it looks like Gianna, but in Italian it's Gianna.
Gianna.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll never forget that I actually said it right. So.
Yeah.
And I told Dave when he was walking, I was like, it's Gianna. It's Gianna.
Yeah.
Say Gianna.
That's great to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So. I won't bark at you if you say it incorrectly, but I will notice if you say it correctly. I think it's pretty cool. But everyone calls me G, I think, so they can get away with not saying it. And I like G too. So
because they're all sitting there going, "Oh gosh, what was it? I know it's different."
G works.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, it's awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on the show, and then thank you to all the listeners and people on YouTube. If you haven't liked or subscribed to the channel, please do so. Please like this video or go follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, what have you, and then go follow Gianna. You want to
Golf Coach Gianna on Instagram, and I do some stuff on YouTube as well, and a lot of travel, a lot of golf tips, a lot of practice is kind of the realm that I go into on Instagram, just things that you can do to practice golf.
I love it. I've been watching some of them, so they're really good. Quick hitters. I love it.
Yeah.
They're really good. Well, thank you again.
Thank you.